In the previous video, pinag-usapan natin yung tungkol sa joint distribution. This time, we will talk about or discuss independent random variables, discrete probability distributions, distribution functions for random variables, distribution functions for discrete random variables, continuous random variables. All of these are part of the random variables. Here is the definition for independent random variables. A finite number of random variables x, y, and others up to z on a sample space S are said to be independent if the probability of the random variable x equals x sub I, y equals y sub j, up to z equals z sub k. And this is equal to the probability of the x equals x sub I times the probability of y times y sub I up to times the probability of z equals z sub k for any values of x sub I, y sub j, up to z sub k. In particular, we have x and y are independent if, kung dalawa lang sila, the probability of the random variable x equals x sub I and y equals y sub j is equal to the probability of x equals x sub I times the probability of y equals y sub j. Now, if x and y have respective distributions, say f and g, and joint distribution h, then the above equation can be written as h of x sub I, y sub I, j equals f of x sub I times g of y sub j. So in other words, x and y are independent if each entry, h of x sub I, y sub I in the joint distribution is the product of its marginal entries, the x and the y. To make that clear, we have here an example. Let x and y be random variables with the following joint distribution. We have here the joint distribution of the two variables, and we have here the distribution of x and the distribution of y. Now the question is, determine if x and y are independent. So based on the previous definition, we have just to check if the joint distribution here, example, itong 0.06 is the product of the probability of the x equals 1 here in the distribution of x and y equals 2 here in the distribution of y. So, tingnan natin. 1 here in the x, the probability of 1 or the probability of x equals 1 is 0.30 and the probability of y equals 2 is 0.20. Then the probability of the x and y is 0.06. So we can say that 0.30 times 0.20 is just equal to 0.06, the product. So as to the others, example, 1 and 3 here. X is 1, y is 3, their probability is 0.15. Now, this is the product of 1 here with the probability of 0.3 times 0.5, the probability of 3. So 0.5 times 0.3 is 0.15, and that's it. So as to the others, 0.30 times 0.30 here, when y equals 4, that is 0.09, and this is it. So kung i-check natin lahat yan, like what I did here in this computation below, ganun lahat. All of these are just the product of the pair here. So if that is the case, we can say that x and y are independent. We have here some properties of independent random variables given in two theorems. Theorem 1, let x and y be independent random variables. Then, first, the expectation of xy equals the expectation of x times the expectation of y. 2, the variance of the quantity x plus y is equal to the variance of x plus the variance of y. Third, the covariance xy is just equal to 0. From part 2, we can generalize this theorem in the next given theorem, which is theorem 2. Let x sub 1, x sub 2, dot up to x sub n be independent random variables, then the variance of the sum of this, x sub 1 plus x sub 2 plus x sub 3 plus up to x sub n is just equal to the variance of the x sub 1 plus the variance of x sub 2 plus the variance of x sub 3 dot up to the variance of the x sub n. The proofs of these theorems will be given in the module. Now let's have the discrete random variables in general. A random variable that takes on a finite or countably infinite number of values is called a discrete random variable. Yun na, kapag finite or countably infinite number yung values ng ating random variable, yun ay isang discrete random variable. Finite, okay, sakto. And then countably infinite, pwede ring infinite, but when we say countably infinite, that is we can form it in a sequence just like 1, 2, 3, 4 dot up to infinity. So countably infinite yun dahil meron siyang sequence. Makikita natin yung sequence niya na increasing. While one which takes on a non-countably infinite number of values is called a non-discrete random variable, which we will be discussed in the later part. Tinatawag natin yan na continuous variable. Now we have what we call the discrete probability distributions. What is this? Let x be a discrete random variable and suppose that the possible values that it can assume are given by x sub 1, x sub 2, x sub 3, and so on, arranged in some order. Suppose also that these values are assumed with probabilities given by this formula. The probability of the random variable x equals x sub k is equal to the f of x sub k, where k is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. It is convenient to introduce the probability function, also referred to as probability distribution, given by the formula above. So ito yung tinatawag natin na probability distribution or probability function, itong f of x, the function of x, the probability function. In general, the probability function has the following characteristics or conditions to be satisfied. First, the probability function must be greater than or equal to 0. Second, the summation of the probability function, yung probability ng bawat value ng x, ibig sabihin yan, pag tinotal natin lahat, it must be equal to 1. Where the sum in 2 in the second, it means here, is taken over all possible values of the x. For example 2, suppose that a coin is tossed twice so that the sample space is S equals. So may equals to, nakalimutan lang. S equals HH, HT, TH, TT. S, yan yung ating sample space. Ito yung lahat ng outcomes kapag ginawa natin yung tossing of one coin twice. So, first outcome, pwedeng head, or second outcome, pwedeng head din. And ganoon din dito. Now, let x represent the number of heads that can come up. Find the probability function corresponding to the random variable x. Ito yung problem kanina. Nire-write ko lang dyan para makita natin. So, of course, we will assume that the coin is fair. Kapag fair yan, ibig sabihin, pareho lang yung probability na lalabas yung head or tail. So we have 4 outcomes there in the sample space: HH, HT, TH, and TT. So it means that kapag fair yung coin, dapat equal yung mga probability niyan. HH, the probability of this is 1 over 4 because it is 1 out of the 4 outcome. HT here, the probability is 1 over 4 also because it is 1 out of the 4. TH is 1 over 4 and TT is also 1 over 4. Then because the x here is the number of heads, then we can count the number of heads. For the x equals 0, it means there's no head in the outcome, and that is TT. There's no head there. It's all tail. So the probability is 1/4. And then second, if x equals 1, it means there is one head in that outcome. Then, meron tayong dalawa dito na may isang head. Itong HT at saka TH. May isang head dyan. So, bawat isa dyan ay may probability na 1/4. So, dalawa yan sila. So, we will get the probability of the union of these two, yung HT at saka TH, equals just the probability of HT plus the probability of TH, which is 1/4 at saka 1/4. I-plus lang natin yan, and the sum is 1/2. That is the probability that x equals 1, meaning there's one head. And then for the probability of x equals 2, meaning dalawa yung heads, outcome na yan ay isa lang. Itong outcome na may ganon, which is the HH here. So isa lang yan, kaya ang probability niyan ay 1/4. Now, the probability function is given in the form of table, parang summary ng mga probability. On the first row, we will write the values of the x, which is 0, 1, and 2. So, tatlo lang yung values niya kasi hanggang 2 lang naman yung value. So, x is 0, meaning walang head na lumabas. X is 1, so may isang head na lumabas doon sa outcome. X is 2, meaning dalawa yung head na lumabas. So, based on our previous na solution, we compute the probability of each of that value. And then we denote that as the probability function or the function of x. So, the probability that it is 0 is 1/4. Okay, nandun. The probability that it is 1 is 1/2. Andito. And then the probability that it is 2 is 1/4. So, ito na ngayon yung tinatawag nating probability function. Ito nasa table na ito. Small f of x. Kasi mamaya may capital F tayo. So, iba naman ang tawag doon. For this small f, ang tawag natin dyan again is the probability function. Let's go to the distribution functions for random variables. O, yun na yung parang opposite niya. Kung yung small f kanina ay probability function, this one, capital F, is the distribution function of the random variable. So this is the cumulative distribution function, or briefly, the distribution function for a random variable x, and defined by this formula. The capital F of x equals the probability that the random variable x is less than or equal to a certain value of x. So, cumulative yan, kaya less than. Lagi yung nakalagay dyan. Where x here is any real number. And that real number is from negative infinity up to positive infinity. The distribution function, the capital F x, has the following properties. So, the capital F of x is non-decreasing. So, dapat increasing lang lagi yan kasi nga cumulative. So, ini-add natin. So, patuloy na nag-increase because we keep on adding. That is, the distribution function x is less than or equal to the distribution function of y if x is less than or equal to y. So, halimbawa lang yan. Number 2 condition, the limit of this distribution function as x approaches the negative infinity is equal to 0. Kapag mag-approach naman siya sa positive infinity, yung values ng x natin dito, then the limit of this distribution function is equal to 1. Third, the distribution function is continuous from the right. Okay, from the right, take note of that. That is the limit of the distribution function of x plus h. And there is h. As h approaches 0 from the right, o yan, pagbasa niyan from our calculus class, 0 from the right is equal to the distribution function x for all x. So, ito yung kailangan natin natandaan para magamit natin mamaya sa ating mga problems. Now, what we have, the distribution functions for discrete random variable. Yung kanina, maybe continuous. This one is discrete. The distribution function for a discrete random variable x can be obtained from its probability function by noting that for all x in the range negative infinity to positive infinity, the distribution function is equal to the probability of x equals or less than x. That is equal to the summation of the the function of u. So, itong small f na to, this is the density function na pinag-usapan natin kanina, where u is less than or equal to x, where the sum is taken all over all values u taken on by x for which u is less than or equal to x. If x takes on only a finite number of values, x sub 1, x sub 2, up to x sub n, then the distribution function is given by this form. So, ito na yung distribution function ng discrete random variables. Ito, capital F of x is equal to this. Always mag-start siya sa 0. 0, and then the next is the probability of the first value. Next, the probability of the first value plus the probability of the second one up to hanggang sa maubos natin, i-add yung mga probabilities. And then we have here also the range on the right side of that. The range, halimbawa 0 siya if x is from negative infinity to x sub 1. And then from x sub 1 up to less than x sub 2 is ito na siya yung first value. And so on hanggang sa abot ng positive infinity. Kasi dapat ma-take natin yung values ng x from this range, negative infinity to positive infinity. So I think we have here example number 3 for clarification or para mas klaro yung ating definition kanina. So we have here, find the distribution function for the random variable x of the previous example. Ano ba yung previous example natin? Actually, ito, no? If you look at, okay, balikan natin yung previous example natin. This one, yung tossing of a coin twice with this following sample space here. Yan yun. Now, ang tinatanong dito sa example number 3 ay find the distribution function for the random variable x on that example. So, review natin. Ito na yung ating probability function na nakuha natin dun sa problem number 1. X takes the value 0, 1, and 2. Ito yung number of heads dun sa outcome. And then the probability of these values, for 0, it is 1/4. For 1, it is 1/2. And for 2, it is 1/4. Now, the distribution function is simply as this. We will start at 0, this one, 0. Okay, 0. And then next is the first probability, which is 1/4. 1/4. And then next, i-plus natin yung 1/2. 1/4 plus 1/2, and that's 3/4. Next, 3/4 plus 1/4, that's 1. O, ganun lang. O, starting at 0, kasi palagi mag-umpisa sa 0. Then take the first probability, 1/4. Ayan, 1/4. Plus the second one, 1/4 plus 1/2. That's 3/4. Plus the second one, plus 1/4. That's 1. Eh, parang cumulative ang, ano niya, cumulative yung order. Now, in every value here, we need to get the range where is the value of x there. So, 0 siya kapag yung ating x ay from negative infinity to less than 0. And kapag yung x naman natin is starting from 0 up to less than 1, it is 1/4. So, makita natin yan dito. 0, starting at 0 up to less than 1. Yan yung ating basihan ng ating mga range na to. And that is 1/4. And then, from 1 naman, from 1 up to less than 2, meaning from here up to less than 2, the probability is 3/4. And then next, from 2 up to positive infinity, kasi pinakamataas natin is 2. So from here up to the positive infinity na, the cumulative probability is 1. Cumulative siya. Okay, so that is what we call the distribution function. Now, let's have the continuous random variables. A non-discrete random variable x is said to be absolutely continuous or simply continuous if its distribution function may be represented as this one. The capital F of x, or the distribution function, equals the probability of x less than or equal to x. So, ito yung palatandaan na continuous siya. So, we are using the less than or equal to. Doon sa discrete kanina, equal yung ginagamit natin kasi eksakto yung value ng x. Here is hindi, naka-range siya. So, ibig sabihin, it takes, the value takes between range. So, kaya x is less than or equal to x. Ayan ang pagkuha niyan. Meaning, from 0 up to that x. Or from negative infinity up to that x. And this is equal to the integral of the f of u du evaluated from negative infinity up to x, where x is between negative infinity to positive infinity. So ito yung ating formula ng ating distribution or distribution function for the continuous random variable, where the function fx here has the properties. So ito naman tayo. The probability of this x is greater than or equal to 0. Siyempre, probability and it is always greater than or equal to 0. Hindi pwedeng magne-negative. And number 2, we have the integral of this fx dx evaluated from negative infinity up to positive infinity is equal to 1. Now, it follows from the above that if x is continuous random variable, then the probability that x takes on any one particular value is 0. O yun nga ang sabi ko kanina. Yung dito sa continuous, yung value ng x dito ay naka-range. From this point up to that point. Hindi pwede yung exacto. Kasi kapag exacto daw, yung ikukunin mong value dito sa continuous, then the probability of that is 0. Ayan, nakalagay dyan. So, whereas the interval probability that x lies between two different values, say a and b, is given by, ito na yung probability niya, when x is between a and b. So, the probability is just equal to the integral of the fx dx evaluated from a to b. So, papasok na yung integration dito. So, please remember your techniques on integrating functions. Example number 4. Find the constant c such that the function, this one, density function to, is cx squared if x is from between 0 and 3, and it is 0 otherwise. If the values of x is not in this range, meaning 0 ang value ng ating density function. This is the density function. We have to find this c here, and then letter b, compute the probability of x between 1 and 2. Solution. Since the f of x satisfy the property 1, ano ba yung property 1 natin kanina? F of x must be greater than 0. So c here must be greater than or equal to 0 din para masatisfy niya yung property number 2. Yung property number 2, balikan nga natin. Ito, this is equal to 1 kapag in-integrate natin from negative infinity to positive infinity, in order to be a density function. So now, we will use the formula to get the value of c. So, gamitin natin itong formula na to. This one, that is equal to 1. And ito na, the integral of fx dx evaluated from negative infinity to positive infinity is equal to the integral of cx squared dx. Ayun, kasi ang ating function. So, bakit nakalagay lang dito from 0 to 3? Kasi ito lang yung range natin dito, 0 to 3. X is between 0 to 3. Otherwise, 0 na yan. So, no need to indicate here kung nasaan yung from negative infinity up to 0. Kasi 0 din yon. And then, from 3 up to positive infinity, nasaan yun? No need to indicate here kasi 0 na din yon. So, ito lang kukunin natin yung exactong nandito. Kasi nga, ito yung kanyang function kapag from between 0 to 3. So, ito na. And then, i-evaluate lang natin to. So, because c is constant, so, according to our rule, pwede natin ilabas yan. So, magiging c, integration of x squared dx, evaluated from 0 to 3 is equal to c times the integral of x squared. So, paano nga ba mag-integral? Sinimplihan ko na lang to. Just add 1 to the exponent. Kabaliktaran ng ating derivative dati, di ba? Minus 1 tayo sa exponent. So, this time, add 1 lang sa exponent. So, x square magiging x cube. And then, whatever the result of the exponent, igagawin natin din yan siyang denominator of that one. So, x 3 over 3. Yan na yan. And then we will evaluate that from 0 to 3. Or ibig sabihin niyan from 0 to 3? We will substitute the values of 3 and 0 to the x and we will subtract. So magiging ang ano nito, ang simplified form nito is cx cubed over 3. So then diretso ko na c when x is 3, so c times 3 cubed over 3 minus c times 0 cube over 3. Yan ang ibig sabihin nitong ating evaluation of integral dito. This is definite integral kasi may value yung ating boundary. Upper boundary and lower boundary. Ano na baliktad? Lower and upper boundary. And then just evaluate this or simplify. C times 3 cube over 3 is 3 cube is 27. So 27c over 3 is just equal to 9c. Ito 0 naman yan eh. 0 ang numerator. So divide by number. That is 0. So 9c ang sagot. Now, kasi yung c ang hinahanap natin, alam natin na itong formula na to, this formula is equal to 1. Okay, balikan natin. Andito sa ating condition number 2. This is equal to 1. So whatever is that, equate lang natin sa 1 yung sagot natin dito, which is 9c. So 9c equals 1 based on the condition. And then solve for c. Okay, divide both sides by 9. So we have c equals 1 over 9. O, di ba? Simple lang. Okay, that is for our letter A. Now, based on this result, we will find the probability that x is between 1 and 2. So, yan ang ating susunod na isosolve. Okay, so the probability of x between 1 and 2 is equal to the integral of yung function natin na cx squared dx. And then we will evaluate that from 1 to 2. Yan yung nakalagay dito, okay? Yan ang ilalagay natin kaniyang lower and upper boundary ng ating integral. And then c, kasi na-solve natin yung c na 1 over 9, i-substitute na natin dito. So integral of 1 over 9 x squared dx evaluated from 1 to 2. Ito na. 1 over 9 is a constant, so pwede natin ilabas yan. And then may iwan sa loob ng integral is x squared dx. And then we will integrate this x squared. So ang integral nito is x cubed over 3. Yung kanina parang na-solve na rin natin. Parang inulit lang. We need to show kasi yan yung nakalagay doon. And then simplify that. This will become x cubed over 9 times 3, 27. Ando na. X cubed over 27 evaluated from 1 to 2. So substitute na natin yung 2 and 1 and subtract. So 2 cubed over 27 minus 1 cubed over 27. That is 2 cubed is 8 over 27 and 1 cubed is 1 over 27. Subtract that. 8 over 27 minus 1 over 27. Similar fraction. Subtract the numerator. 8 minus 1. That is 7. Copy the denominator. So 7 over 27. In case fx is continuous. Siyempre continuous naman talaga eh. Yan ang ating topic eh. Which we shall assume unless otherwise stated. The probability that x is equal to any particular value is 0. Ayun. So inulit na naman yung kanina. Kapag kumuha tayo ng value, halimbawa, what is the probability that x equals 1? O eksakto yun. So based on this, the answer must be 0 kasi nga continuous to. So walang exact value dapat dito. It is continuous. So kapag yun ang tanong, exact value, then the probability is 0. O klaro yan dito ha. In such case, we can replace either or both of the signs less than by less than or equal to. So, dun sa mga ganitong symbols natin, because if this is continuous, then pwede nating palitan ng equal to, like this. So, pareho lang yun. Pag ginawa nating less than or equal to, or yung isa lang yung less than or equal to, or yung left or right, and then pwede rin walang less than or equal to. Basta continuous, pare-pareho lang yung tatlo na yan. And still, the answer is 7 over 27. Example number 5. Given the density function, this one, f of x equals x squared over 9 if x is between 0 and 3, and 0 if it is otherwise. A, find its distribution function, and B, find the probability of x is between 1 up to 2. Okay, nakulang ata to. Sige, lagyan natin. I-correct natin. Meron ito dapat na, eto, probability, dito, probability of, naku, writing ko. Ganyan siya dapat. Okay? Find the probability that x is between 1 and up to 2. Now, for the solution, balik. So, we have the formula. Andun sa ating introduction, we have the formula, capital Fx equals the probability of x less than or equal to x is equal to the integral of fu du evaluated from negative infinity to x. To x lang muna. So, yung fu natin dyan, actually, yan din yung ating x. Dahil hanggang x lang tayo dito, then, gawin natin yung ating x doon sa given. Okay? So, now, this is our formula na susundin. Because ito yung ating range, 0, x is from or between 0 to 3, kasi kailangan natin kunin yung values niya, class, from negative infinity to positive infinity. Meaning, we need to identify out of this, halimbawa, from negative infinity to 0, anong magiging value na? Siyempre, 0 yon. And then after that, where x is from 3 to positive infinity. Yun. So, yun ang ating umpisahan. So, ipakita natin dito. If x is less than 0, then the f of x is 0. Kasi nga, ito otherwise 0. If x is from 0 to 3, actually, ito na yan. And then, ito na yung ating gagamitin na function, x squared over 9. Kasi yan yung nakalagay dyan. So, the capital F of x is equal to the integral of the fu du evaluated from 0 to x. And then, yung ating function dyan na x squared over 9, palitan lang natin ng u, yung x. So, u squared over 9. Kasi x yung gagawin nating upper limit ng ating integral, du. And then, i-evaluate lang natin itong integral na to. We have 1 over 9 is constant. So, 1 over 9 times the derivative, or integral ng u square is u cube over 3. Evaluated from 0 to x. Ayun, kasi x yung nandun. And simplify this. That is u cube over 27. That's 9 times 3 there, 27. Evaluated from 0 to x. Okay, so now, evaluate this. So, substitute u with x. So, x cube over 27 yan siya. Minus 0 cube over 27 is no need to write kasi 0 naman yun. So, kaya ang sagot na lang is x cube over 27. Ito yung ating distribution function for x from 0 to 3. Yan siya, ibig sabihin niya. For x is greater than 3 naman, ito yung magiging ano niya. So, f of x equals, okay, from 0 to 3, fu du plus 3 to x. Yung pag-evaluate natin. Kasi nga, cumulative kasi yung f of x. So, isali pa rin natin yung previous na fu du plus, and then yung from 3 to x na. That is, x is greater than 3. And then, we know that this one, na-solve na natin kanina, that's 1 over 9 over 1 over 9 u square, yung ginamit natin in the previous. So, parang inulit ko lang dito how to evaluate that. This one, this part, and that part na rin. So, ito na siya. From 0 to 3, evaluate integral of u square over 9 du. So, ito na yung process niya. O, alam nyo na yun paano ginawa. Yan na yung ginawa doon sa previous. And the answer of this is 1. So, ibig sabihin, ang part na to ay 1. Ito, kasi 0 yan. So, of course, the integral of 0 is always 0. Kaya, i-rewrite natin yan. Ito na. This is equal to 1. This is 1 plus 0. And that is equal to 1. And expected naman talaga na dun sa up to infinity, 1 talaga yung lalabas dito. Kasi nga, this is cumulative. From 0, then x cube over 27, and then 1. Cumulative. So, dapat kasi ang total nilang lahat ay 1. So, now, this is now the required distribution function. This one. F of x equals 0 if x is less than 0. Yung kanina na ginawa natin. So, parang sinamarize natin dito. X cube over 27 if x is from 0 up to less than 3. And then it is 1 if x is greater than or equal to 3. O, ito yung sagot natin dito sa part na to. For letter B, gamitin natin yung sagot daw natin doon sa A to find the probability that x is between 1 and up to 2. So kasi cumulative to siya, we need to subtract the probability of x less than or equal to 2 minus the probability of x less than or equal to 1. Kasi nga, cumulative yung value niya ng ating distribution function. So, up to 2, so we have to subtract yung 1. Kasi nga, dapat 0 to eh. From 0 to this 1. So, kailangan natin subtract yun. Itong x is less than 1. Yun ang purpose. Bakit we need to subtract this? So, this one, f of x is less than or equal to 2 is just like the probability of this is just the f of 2. That is equal to the probability of x less than or equal to 2. So, evaluate lang natin yung ating function. Integral from 0 to 2. From 0 to 2. Less than to eh. So, ito na f of x dx is just x squared over 9 dx. Evaluate natin yan from 0 to 2. So, integrate natin. That's 1 over 9 times the integral of x squared is x3 over 3. And simplify that. That is x cubed over 27. Evaluated from 0 to 2. So, substitute lang 2 to the 3 is 8 over 27. Minus 0 naman yan, so no need to write. So, the answer here is 8 over 27. Now, for the second one, para masubtract natin ito, we need to find this also. So, f of 1 is just equal to the probability of x less than or equal to 1. So, ang ating range, ang ating limit naman dito is 0 to 1. Okay, so ganoon pa rin yung pag-integrate. Ang nagbago lang dito yung kanyang limit, 0 to 1. So, evaluated from 0 to 1. So, ito na. X cubed over 27 evaluated from 0 to 1. So, just substitute x with 1. 1 cubed over 27 and that is 1 over 27. And next, okay, so balikan natin yung formula dun sa taas. Ito na. I-write ko lang dito. So, we just subtract the f of 2 minus f of 1, which are 8 over 27 and 1 over 27. Subtract that. 8 minus 1 is 7 over 27. Our answer for letter B. Okay, hanggang dun na lang pala. And now we have here the problem set number 3. Answer the following. So, itong number 1, katulad dun sa example number 1. So, konti na lang yung binago ko dyan para mas madaling isolve. Just determine if x and y are independent or not. So, gamitin nyo lang yung definition dun sa una. Number 2, this one. Ayan. So, katulad lang din ng number 2 kanina na example. Paki-screenshot na lang. Number 3, ito. Number 4 is this one. Gaya lang din ng number 4 dun sa ano. Para mas madali na. And number 5 is this. So, this is your last problem set with items 1 to 5. Oh, sorry. Nakalagay pa rin example number 5. That is item number 5. Pasensya na. Hindi na edit. Okay, so deadline of submission will be on December 31, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. Send your answers to my email. Hindi ko na lang nilagay dito. Alam nyo na yun. Nabigay ko lang sa inyo dati pa. Okay? So, hanggang dito lang. Thank you for watching. I hope you understand our lesson for today.